We are going to use what you know about equations in order to solve application problems. And we'll do that using our strategy called the blueprint for problem solving. So the first step of the strategy is to read through the problem and then mentally list all of the known and unknown items. Think about what the question is asking you to find out. Number two, we're going to assign a variable to one of those unknown items and then translate the rest of the information into mathematical expressions. Then, number three has us rereading the problem, making sure that you've acquired all of the important information, translated that into the expressions, and then use these expressions and the variable to write an equation. Step 4 has you solving the equation that you just wrote in step 3. Step 5 has you writing your answer, what you found from the equation in step 4. You write that answer out in a complete sentence. And then the last step, step 6, has you rereading your problem and then checking your answer. So let's try an example. Our first problem says the longest side of a triangle is 2 times the shortest side, while the medium side is 3 meters more than the shortest side. The perimeter is 27 meters, and we're asked to find the dimensions of the triangle. So the first step of the blueprint for problem solving is to read the problem and then mentally list all of the known and unknown items. So our known items, we know that the longest side of the triangle is 2 times the shortest side, while the medium side is 3 meters more than the shortest side. And we know that the perimeter is 27 meters. So first, let's start with our second step in our blueprint, and we're going to assign a variable to one of our unknowns. So looking at the information that the problem presented, we don't know any information about that shortest side except for the other sides and how they relate. And so let's assign our variable x to our shortest side. Then we can go back to the problem and we can write some expressions using this variable. So reading that first sentence, the longest side of the triangle is 2 times the shortest side. So we've assigned x to represent the length of our shortest side. And our longest side of our triangle is 2 times x. So we'll write our expression for our longest side as 2x. Now continuing on, it says the medium side of our triangle is 3 meters more than our shortest side, x. So 3 meters more than, we can write the expression x plus 3 to represent the length of the medium side. And so our final information that the problem gives us is that the perimeter is 27 meters. So it looks like we can use these expressions that we just wrote, set that equal to 27 meters as our perimeter, because we're going to add up the lengths of each side of the triangle in order to get the total perimeter. So that looks like that could be our equation. Okay, so we've gone through the first step of the blueprint. We've read, we've listed the known and unknown items. We've assigned a variable, and we've written some expressions. So now let's go through and actually write out our equation. So our equation is going to be our shortest side plus our medium side. So we have x plus 3 plus our longest side, which is 2x. And all of this is equal to 27 to represent 27 meters for our total perimeter. So now the next step, which is our fourth step of our blueprint, is to solve this equation. So let's simplify this left side. We'll combine similar terms. So we have x plus x is 2x plus 2x over here is 4x plus 3. That's equal to 27. And then let's move our 3 over here. We're going to add -3 to both sides, which leaves 4x on this side. And then 27 plus -3, or 27 minus 3, is 24. And then we can divide both sides by 4. So those factor out, and we're left with x equals 24 divided by 4 is 6. So here we have our value for the shortest side, 6. And again, these units are meters. So let's go ahead and just go and list out the dimensions of these triangles, this triangle. So we have our value for x, so x equals 6 meters. We'll plug in our value for x into our other two expressions. And so for our medium side, which is represented by x plus 3, we'll plug in 6 for the value of x. So 6 plus 3 equals 9. So our medium side, x plus 3, is equal to 9 meters. And then finally, our longest side, we'll plug in 6 for the value of x here. So 2 times 6 is 12 meters. So our longest side, represented by 2x, is 12 meters in length. So moving on to our fifth step in the blueprint, we're going to write out our answers, which we need to define the dimensions of this triangle. We're going to write those out in a complete sentence. So we can say the shortest side is 6 meters. The medium side is 9 meters. And the longest side is 12 meters. So there's our complete sentence with our answer. The last step of the blueprint is to reread the problem and then check our answer to make sure things check out. So we have the longest side of a triangle is 2 times the shortest side, while the medium side is 3 meters more than the shortest side. The perimeter is 27 meters. Find the dimensions. So we found that the shortest side is 6 meters. So if we look at the first part of the problem, the longest side of the triangle is 2 times the shortest side. If our longest side is 12 meters, that's 6 times 2, which is 12 meters, and that checks. Next, while the medium side is 3 meters more than the shortest side, if our shortest side again is 6 meters and our medium side is 3 meters longer than that, 6 plus 3 equals 9 meters. Final check, if the perimeter is 27 meters, that means we need to add our dimensions up to get the total perimeter. 6 plus 9 is 15, plus 12 is 27 meters. So everything checks out. Let's try one more. So let's work an application problem that involves interest. This problem says a man invests $12,000 in 2 accounts. So if one account pays 10% of interest per year and the other account pays 7% interest per year, the question asks us how much was invested in each account if the total interest earned in the first year was $960. So we've read our problem. The rest of step 1 from our blueprint is to list the knowns and the unknowns. So the known information that we have from this problem is that the man invested a total amount of $12,000. So he split that total amount up into the 2 accounts. We need to figure out how much is in each in order to find our answer. The second thing that we know is that the first account that he put some money into pays 10% of interest per year. The next thing we know is that the second account pays 7% interest per year. And then at the end of that year, the total interest that those 2 accounts earned combined was $960. So we need to find out how much was invested in each account. That's our unknown. So moving on to step 2 of our blueprint, let's assign a variable. And let's assign our variable x to the number of dollars that are invested into the one account that pays 10% interest per year. So then we can use the information from the problem, the total amount of $12,000 invested, and the variable that we assign to this first account in order to write an expression for our second account that pays 7%. So we write that by taking the total amount invested, $12,000, and we subtract x, because x is the amount in our first account. We know $12,000 is our total, so if we subtract the amount that he put in the first account, we'll have the amount that's in the second. And then our last column in this table here is asking for the total amount invested. So that's $12,000. Okay, so let's see if we can write a few more expressions that will represent the interest paid on these accounts. So we know that 10%, we can convert this percent into a decimal. And in order to find the interest, we need to take 10% of the amount of dollars that are in this account. So we can multiply x by 0.10. And this is the expression that represents the interest paid on this first account. Let's use that technique to write the expression for the interest paid on the second account. So 7%, we can translate that and convert that into a decimal. So we get 0.07 times the total amount in this account, which is 12,000 minus x. And then the last bit of information that the problem told us initially is that the total amount of interest earned on both accounts is $960. So now, this second line here of our table, this we can use to write our equation. So we can add these two expressions together and set them equal to the total amount of interest, and then solve for x, and that will give us a value in order to solve and find the total amount in each account. So let's set up this equation. We have 0.10x plus 0.07 times 12,000 minus x, and that's all equal to 960. So now let's solve this equation for x. To make the math easier, we should get rid of these decimals. So let's multiply both sides by 100. And by doing that, we get 10x plus 7 times 12,000 minus x. And that's equal to 96,000. So again, we multiply both sides of this equation by 100. We're not going to change the solution by doing that. And so we're left with 10x plus 7 times 12,000 minus x equals 96,000. So let's continue and solve for x. So we'll simplify this. Let's distribute the 7 over each term inside the parentheses. So we have 10x plus 84,000. And then 7 times negative x is negative 7x equals 96,000. Okay, so combining like terms, 10x minus 7x gives us 3x. And in one step, I'm also going to then subtract 84,000 from each side. So that leaves us with 3x is equal to 96,000 divided by, minus 84,000 leaves 12,000. So then divide both sides by 3, and we're left with x equals $4,000. Add in our units. So $4,000, that's the total amount that he invested in this first account that pays 10%. Now the second account, we find the total amount by subtracting 4,000 from 12,000. So the second account, he's invested $8,000. So if we were to write out our answer in a complete sentence, we'd say that the man invested $4,000 into that first account that pays 10%, and the man invested $8,000 into the second account that pays 7%. So the last step of the blueprint is to check our answer. And so using our first account, $4,000 is in there. It pays 10% interest per year. So we take 10% of $4,000, which is $400. So let's write it over here. If we have $400 of interest paid on that first account in that first year, the second account, $8,000 is in there. 7% of that $8,000 is $560. And that's the amount of interest paid on the second account, the one that pays 7% per year. So if we add up those two interest amounts, we get $960, which means that our answers check because that's the total amount of interest earned that the problem told us at the very beginning. So hopefully going through these two examples, seeing how we use the blueprint for problem solving can help you as you work the applications in this section on your own.